Do not buy a tankless water heater. And I'm going to tell you why and the number one reason why you shouldn't buy a tankless water heater. And this is the perfect scenario to explain how a tankless water heater works. So the reason you don't want to buy a tankless water heater is because most people don't understand what a tankless water heater means. And everyone goes and sells them they're like, hey, upgrade your house to a tankless water heater. And me, from my experience of working with people, and especially if you have a huge house, do not buy a tankless water heater if you don't know how it works. So this is a perfect example to explain the benefits and the downfalls of a water heater. So right now, we're gonna run it hot. You see, 84 degrees. I should have started the timer. We're gonna start the timer. And it's still, you see how it's still holding at 84 degrees, 86, it's barely going up. And what's happening is, this is the furthest fixture away from the tankless water heater. So what happens is, it has to, you see how it's still at 84, 82. It's still gonna take about 4 or 5 minutes for people to get hot water. And this is the hottest setting. And it's barely like warm right now. And the reason I don't recommend a tankless water heater is because people are going to start complaining the way it works. So since this is the furthest fixture, it's going to take a while for that tankless water heater to kick on. And the way, this is what I had to show my customers sometimes. You open this, we're like on a minute, right? It's still not even hot. Watch this. See, we're still sitting at 83 degrees. 92, it's finally getting a little hotter, you see? Barely like warm, but see, we're at like a minute. And we'll start going up. But the reason is how a water heater works, and I'll draw it off for you guys. See, we're like in 1 minute. So this is the tankless water heater right here. So for it, when you run hot water, which is right here where we're at, all the water, the tankless water heater turns on, it goes all the way here, and it has to travel all the way here for it to be hot. And we're at like a minute and 30. See, we're finally at 104. Now we're finally hot. This is like where you want to take a shower at, water. And then see, it's still kind of warm here because it has a mixing valve. And that's what most people complain about with me when they're like, oh, what's wrong with my water heater? And all these salespersons come in like, upgrade to a tankless water heater. And now it's still not hot enough. People will still complain at me. But see, we're barely getting at to 100 degrees. And now that's when people won't complain at me. But we're like at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And that's because I ran that one. That's why I had to show my customers and explain to them why a tankless water heater sometimes is not the best option for them. Where the tankless will come in handy is when you're trying to fill this bad boy. Because once the tankless keeps going, and we turn on this one, this will be where the tankless water will kick ass. Because once it gets going, it takes 2 minutes for it to heat up. It's gonna take, if you had a regular 40-gallon tank water heater, it would drain that thing completely, filling this up. And that's where you would have a problem. And this is where tankless will be the best option because of the bathtub right here. But like I said, most people are going to complain to me and be like, hey, the tankless water heater is not working because it's, all the way here. I know they do have some tankless water heater models where they have a little pump and does a recirculation. But the way these tankless water heaters usually work is they have an internal pump. And let's say you take a shower at 6 a.m. At 5:45, it's gonna know your schedule and kick on and start recirculating. So if you decide to take a random shower during the day, you're gonna run into that same problem. The other way you fix that problem is you run 2 tankless water heaters, and one is always on and the other one is just like a backup. Or you run another tankless water heater right here. So that's why sometimes I don't recommend tankless water heaters, because of this issue. And people will complain. And those service plumbers that sell tankless water heaters, don't hear those complaints. I do, and that's why I have to explain to the customer how a tankless water heater is gonna work, and that way they don't complain. I ran bigger houses than this house with a 40-gallon water heater, but with a dedicated recirc pump that's always recirculating. And even a 40-gallon is big enough for a house that's twice as big. Why? Because most people do not shower at the same time, or they don't have they're not filling up a bathtub. So a 40-gallon is fine for a house bigger with a dedicated recirc pump. And sometimes doesn't even make sense to try to upsell them to get a tankless water heater because they don't even know how to explain to someone. Trust me, they're gonna be mad at you for selling them something they don't need, especially when they think that tankless water heater means instant hot water, and that's not the case. That's where customers are gonna be super mad with you when they're trying to shower and it takes 3 minutes for the water to get over there. They're gonna be like, hey, you sold me this for 10 grand, 7 grand, 8 grand, and I don't have hot water. So that's why I don't even recommend sometimes hot water. I tell them, hey, you need the best results, it's always going to be a tank with a dedicated recirc pump, and I never have a problem. Like I said, I'm running a house bigger, almost twice the size of this house, and like I said, it runs off a 40-gallon, but it has a badass pump that's always running. And they try to always get you with a fuel efficiency. They're like, oh, like you're gonna save all this money on upgrading to a tankless. Let's say that pump running 24/7, or it's on a timer where it runs during the day, not at night. Like obviously you could turn it off midnight. No one's gonna randomly take a shower at midnight, but that probably is gonna run up their electric bill like $30-$40 a month. 30 times like 12 is 360 a year. It would take about 20 fucking years for you to pay back that tankless water heater. So it's like, I know all the salespeople, they're like, upgrade to a tankless water heater. It's like, dude, tankless will work perfect on this one if you could wait 2 minutes, but people are definitely gonna complain at me when it takes forever when they're trying to shower. The way you make that tankless water heater work faster is you turn on this one and run all the hot water through all those pipes faster. And like I said, right now, where's my trying to find out, where's the gun? Huh? Temperature gun. Right here. Oh, here. That's right here. Trying to find my temperature gun. See how it's dropped like those 20 degrees again, and it's barely getting hot again? It's still like, just because we barely, like, it's been 2 minutes, but it cools down. That water cools down, and I'm telling you, people will complain when you sell them a tankless water heater for 6-7 grand, and it doesn't work. Where I would sell a tankless water heater is when it's a small house and you have like 10 people living there. It makes perfect sense because that hot water is never gonna end. And since it's a smaller house, like this house is way too big for a tankless, unless you have a dedicated recirc pump, but then it defeats the whole purpose. It's gonna work great on the bathtub, but it's gonna suck on that shower. This shower is not gonna have that much of a problem. Why? Because the tankless water is right here under the garage. So this little run is like 20-30 feet of copper compared to like 60-70 feet. And that, like I said, most people don't know how to explain how water heaters work. They just sell them. So sometimes I don't even recommend tankless water heaters because of the situation. Every situation is unique, and I'll be like, hey, this is your best option. Like I said, I'm running a house twice the size of this with a 40-gallon and a badass recirc pump, and they don't need more than that because, like I said, most of them shower. They never use the bathtub, so it's not a problem. And even if they do decide to use the bathtub, it's a rare situation, and then it's the recovery rate. How often are they gonna use? It just works better. Tankless is always not the answer sometimes. And I know everyone's like, tankless this, tankless that, but trust me, people are gonna be mad at me, even though I did not install a tankless water heater, because this takes 2 minutes to get hot.